Hitch, we're outside in beautiful Frisco.
It is actually gorgeous today. Not too cold, not too hot.
What's it like living in Frisco?
I mean, I think it's awesome. It's very spacious. I mean, it's a very nice area too. Like all the buildings and everything. You don't realize how good it is until you live here for 2 years and then you go somewhere else. And like, wow, I live in a really nice area, yeah.
When I first met you at a UMG event, I think, you were doing OpTic Intel. I don't even think OpTic Intel at the time was necessarily part of OpTic or hadn't been. It was very close to being part of OpTic.
Yeah, it got bought out by some weird company.
Yeah,
that
was us. And but where were you living there then?
I was living in an apartment, in a one-bedroom apartment in Cary, North Carolina, paying like $400 a month for it, and it was not a good place.
I just remember the brick walls, but you always used to say that, it was like damp and...
Oh, yeah, I did tell you about that? Yeah. It was damp always, because it was underground. Yeah. So like my window was like here, and then like the dirt was here, was the floor. And so there was always bugs, and it was moldy, yeah. I went straight from there to the Scuff House.
Yeah, because whenever I see Walgreens, I always think of you, because I think, that's where I think Hitch, that's where I used to work all the time. Early life then, what made you want to get into this space in general? And has it always been that way, like gaming, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I got probably a typical story. I got an Xbox original from my parents and for some Christmas, and fell in love with gaming. And then my parents realized how obsessed I got with it. They tried to get me away from it, and I always found a way to get back in. Then when I was a sophomore in high school, I found an OpTic Predator video, and I didn't know what that was. I just saw how good he was at the game, and I was like, wow. And then I found out he was part of OpTic. So then I started watching D-Treats, every single midnight video. And so I knew of people, but nobody was really making content. I watched some Proofy stuff, some Stainville stuff, but nobody was like making content like the snipers were. But then Nate joined, and he immediately started doing that. So that's what I watched. I watched a lot of Nate Shot, a lot of Scump throughout my high school and college years. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
And first off, it was like, you obviously went into the news area, went into videography. Like, why were you like so drawn to that?
I never considered myself a reporter. I never considered myself a videographer. I just wanted to make content that I thought that people wanted to hear. And I always went with something that was not being done. And I saw what some news outlets were doing in different esports, and I was like, well, Intel would be perfect for that. And then I saw what TSM and TSM Legends was doing in the League of Legends community with the documentaries, and I was like, well, that's also something that nobody's doing in COD. So I was always just trying to bring something to Call of Duty and bring something to OpTic fans that is not already available.
Your upbringing in general, what was it like?
The more I grow up, the more I realize how much of like a, I guess, quote unquote, like perfect childhood I had. You know, loving mom, loving dad. As an only child, church every Sunday, school every day, soccer practice 3 times a week. I mean, it was an amazing, 18 years. And then when I was 18, like my dad passed away. And then my life just kind of, I always kind of think of it as like it started over a little bit. So yeah, it was a great childhood, and I'll always love that. But then things just kind of went crazy after that.
Your dad kind of passing away, obviously, unfortunately, through depression and eventually suicide.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you think that shaped you as a person and kind of giving you that drive? Because to me, you always seem like you're always so driven. Yeah. And I wonder if that's anything to do with kind of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's something that I've talked about with a lot of people close to me. It's like he went through a lot of hardships and a lot of stuff that I didn't even know about with his work. And as I was going to college, I was like, I'm not going to go and do something that I don't want to do. And that day forward, when I had that realization, I was just like, I'm going to do something that I find enjoyable and that makes me happy and that continues to drive me. I think that's a big reason why I'm always working. It's just because I love what I do, and I know how blessed of a situation I am in to like be able to do that. So
what was he like?
I mean, he's an amazing guy. Lay leader at church, which is like, if the preacher is the president, the lay leader is the vice president. I mean, he's an amazing guy, hardworking, caring. I'm not saying this because he was my dad, but I never heard a single person say anything, negative about him. And I've never heard anyone tell me that someone said anything negative about him. He was a really, really, really great guy.
His struggles with like mental health and depression and stuff, is that spurred you on? Because I know you do so much charity stuff. I know you've been involved in
mental
health charities before. You know, do you think that's part of why you do that?
Yeah, it's the whole reason I do it. I do something with mental health, and especially with Movember, which is an organization that focuses on men's health. I do charities with them every year. It's not that I don't like telling people, I just don't tell people my past and what's happened, because I know there's a lot. I'm just one story, and you know, my dad was just one story of billions out there, and I just like, you know, doing it, and it does make me feel good every year just to be able to.
Well, I think like you've probably had more, like even just your videos probably had, like your videos that you've made and you talking about that experience, it's probably had a bigger impact than you realize. Because for example, for me, one thing that always stuck out for me in your Draw My Life, where you talk about, and I think that was the first time I'd ever seen you talk about your dad. And one thing you said, which kind of resonated with me, and almost like I always think about it for some reason. When it comes to depression, people don't want to talk about it and they don't want to feel like a burden.
Yeah.
And you know, and you think that's why he felt he couldn't tell anyone how he felt. And I think for me that has helped me speak more about like my struggles and stuff as well. It's so common with young males. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard. But do you realize how much of an impact you have on people with your videos?
Not really. I mean, I make a lot of goofy content, so I focus a lot on that. You know, every once in a while when I do get serious, or when I do have serious conversations, I don't think about the impact. I guess I don't think about really the outreach. It's just kind of like every once in a while I like just saying what's on my mind. I'm a very open book, which is sometimes not always a good thing, but.
You've always had this kind of like super fan vibe about you when it comes to OpTic. Like even now you're just like so pumped to be around OpTic. Did you think if I do OpTic Intel, I can make it into OpTic?
Oh, absolutely.
Or was it just kind of you wanted to cover OpTic?
I knew what the goal was, and it was just about how to get there.
Yeah.
And the goal was to be a part of OpTic, because there was so much that I wanted to know behind the scenes. I wanted to know what 60/50 was like. I wanted to know what it was like to be Predator and sit down and play for 10 hours a day and come out with a 3-minute montage. Like I wanted to know what all of that was like, but the behind the scenes stuff just wasn't available. So doing the OpTic Intel thing, and that was kind of a behind the scenes thing, got to interview people, and then, you know, it turned into doing Vision. I very much enjoy being a content creator for OpTic, but I enjoy more bringing people events and bringing people, you know, content to help OpTic as a whole. That's my biggest goal.
So when you first joined the OpTic house, was it a bit of a letdown? Because obviously 60/50 was a bit of a shithole, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a letdown. I mean, I was only at 60/50 for like 3 days.
Okay.
You kind of knew. It's not like it was a surprise. People were like, yeah, there's food everywhere and it's dirty. I'm like, that doesn't surprise me at all. It's like kind of like a frat house, and that was like the whole point of being there. But then moving into the Scuff house, that was mind blowing. Yeah. Going from the apartment I was just telling you about with the slugs and the bugs in it to a multi-million-dollar house. Yeah. And everybody was like, I'm sorry, you have to live in it was like a little office.
Yeah.
I was like, what? This is bigger than my last apartment. Like, I loved it.
So did that kind of like solidify that you wanted to go down the content creation route? Because when you first joined, you were very much, you know, you were going to obviously, I don't know if you'd even edited that much before you joined, did you? And you just kind of learned on the fly how to, and you created Vision. I mean, whose vision was Vision?
It was mine. Someone showed me, I think it might have been my buddy Todd, showed me TSM Legends. Yeah. And I don't know I still to this day don't know anything about League of Legends. But I watched the whole thing, and you know, Max was making him at the time, and he's a genius, he's a legend. And I was like, wow, like something like this for OpTic. And then also I watched the Super Smash Brothers documentary, which is my biggest, you know, inspiration for all of this. And I was like, if we can do this in Call of Duty, that would be amazing. Yeah. Because there's already so much personality in COD back then with Seth and Nade and you know, the Dynasty roster at the time. I mean, there was so much that people wanted to know. So I pitched it to Hector, and I was fully planning on going to Envy. I don't know did I ever tell you that?
No.
Yeah, I had a meeting with Tasmo and Hastro.
Okay.
And I'd never been offered money in Call of Duty before, and they offered me some money and to come live at the Envy house, which is like, you know, 45 minutes away. I was debating taking that, and so I called Hector and I asked him. I was like, hey, I got an offer. And he was like, well, you got to take that offer, man. And he says that to everyone. He's like, if an offer comes across your table, he'll encourage you to take it because, you know, it's good for the scene as a whole.
Yeah.
But I was like, well, let me run something by you. So then that's when I told him about the vision thing. And immediately he was on board. He was like, yes, we have to do that. That's something we have to do. I'm going to ask the guys if it's okay if you move in.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
so I hung up and I was mind blown. Yeah.
Cry your eyes out.
Yeah, I literally, I was in my living room, in my moldy living room, and I just jumped up in the air and I was like, yes. But I didn't tell anybody because I didn't know if it was going to happen.
Yeah, because it's one of those things in esports, isn't it? It's like, you just never, things are always meant to happen and they often don't.
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned Hector, like he's obviously a huge part of your story in general.
Yeah.
I know Hector very well. I know what he can be like. He can be quite annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a big brother, yeah.
And I know he's often quite hard on his staff and like people that he expects a lot from. What was it like with you? And kind of like, did you have a lot of run-ins at the start about like quality and, you know, not doing stuff and where's the latest episode, all that kind of stuff?
Kind of. He's hard on everyone though. I mean, if he's not hard on you, that's when you know something's coming. You know what I mean? He was very encouraging with OpTic Intel, and he was like, I think, you know, he only had one talk with me, and he was like, how come we're not uploading at least twice a week? I had all these excuses on the tip of my tongue, like, Walgreens, I've got my own apartment, I got family, and all this stuff. And I said that, and then I think he said something like, if you don't do it, someone else is gonna do it. So at that point, there was a bunch of weird stuff that happened with OpTic Intel, but we just went. Yeah. And we started uploading like 3 times a day, and that was when I met Aaron Create, and Ariel, and we just started grinding, and he had a few conversations with me at the Scuff House as well. But the thing with Hector is he'll be hard on you, but when anyone else, it's just like a big brother. I've never had a sibling, but you know, they'll talk shit to you, but if anybody else talks shit about you, they have a problem with them. That's exactly how Hector is with all of his guys. You
started doing more vision, and you started vlogging your life so much. And I used to watch them all the time, obviously trying to find content as you do when I was writing, because at the time we wrote a lot about OpTic. And
at the time,
I mean, we still probably write a lot about OpTic, just not, we obviously have got a lot more people now. But we used to write a lot about OpTic because at the time we were just COD and we were like just looking for, you know, a lot of OpTic were the biggest and had the most, you know, if you put something out about OpTic, you'd get 10 times as many views as any other team. So it was like, I'm obviously going to sit and watch your vlog, see if I can get any things. But then one day they just kind of stopped. And why? I mean, was it just, did you kind of just think, can't bothered anymore? Because I always wondered, did you stop vlogging too early?
I think I started vlogging at the perfect time. I mean, vlogs are difficult. They might not seem difficult, but they're they're very. I mean, I started vlogging like peak Casey Neistat when he was running YouTube. That was the way to vlog, was every day, put your life out there, Truman Show it. Nowadays, videos are more like kind of the David Dobrik style, where it's like you do it once a week. I've just put so much of my effort into other things like OpTic content and put all my effort into TST, and also I'm trying to grow up a little bit, you know, have my own place and like a girlfriend, you know. So it's hard to vlog like you're in a frat house, you know what I mean? I think that's why everyone in esports vlogs for, you know, 3 days straight, and then they don't vlog for 2 months because you forget how difficult it is. It's hard.